This is going to be quick, hopefully, because the first time I tried to make this, it became 40 minutes. So, I had this dream, like, somewhere around, I don't think it was that long ago. It was a couple months ago, I'll say that. And it goes along with something I did want to make a video about and actually tried to, but I don't really know if I like how it turned out. And I think I may have already deleted it. But the point of that video was going to be about Americans' obsession with mental illness and how all it does is normalize mental illness, which is already pretty normalized. In fact, actually being confused and messed up in the head is considered normal already. But it's like now, whenever you say something that people of the hive mind or just most people don't agree with, then that's when people will say things like you're mentally ill, or if you're in a lower predicament, or a presumed lower predicament anyway than somebody else, then they'll call you mentally ill. Like how even people who aren't rich, I've seen people who aren't even anywhere near rich claim that the only reason that some people are like poor or something close to that is because they're mentally ill. And I mean, or they'll just say it's a mindset. I could get how in some ways it's a mindset, but that still depends on the situation. There's just so much I could say about that. But yeah, that's one example. The idea that yeah, I can't really think of anything else. Not anything else that I really feel fits the situation or the exact topic. But yeah, so what else was it? Oh yeah. So another example is like how there was a point in time where people would say don't believe everything you see on TV. But now if you say that these days, you'll probably get the label of being paranoid or schizophrenic or both those things put together. Or just mentally ill, or they'll call you retarded, or they'll throw a racial slur for some reason along with mental labels. And that's how people are here. People have an obsession with mental illness. If they're not throwing a mental label around to try to make themselves feel better or make themselves feel like they're better than the next person, they're claiming a whole bunch of mental labels and running around with a victim complex, claiming all types of problems, which kind of somewhat goes into this video I have where I go over the whole illness faking trend, which of course I say in that video and a couple other ones. It's not really an illness faking trend. It's actually the fact that, for one, psychiatrists, they label people based off of fads. And this was something that someone else had said to me, or maybe a lot of people in some group. I had a screenshot of it in some other video. I tried looking for the video for a couple minutes earlier today and I couldn't find it. But they were like, psychiatry goes by fads. At one point they were labeling everybody with ADHD, and then ODD, well, ADHD and ODD, I think, then OCD, then anxiety and bipolar and depression, and now it's autism and some other things I can't remember. And that's true, but like I said in other videos, though, people aren't necessarily faking anything. They believe doctors like they were told to believe doctors, and people are told to believe and depend off of a lot of other people, to the point where honestly people can't really do things by themselves. I mean, you can't find somebody that actually would know how to treat themselves if they get sick. And people who do learn how to do that commonly are in situations like I am, where you get sick and you don't know what's going on and can't get answers, to where you're kind of forced to learn how to treat yourself and figure out what's going on. You can't find somebody that knows how to garden, most likely. Probably can't even find somebody that knows how to hunt or even fish. which is why it's kind of funny to me that people call some people bums who technically are doing those things, or at least some are. Now, of course, it's different situations when it comes to the different things under the umbrella of homelessness, because, of course, people see vagabonds, nomads, van lifers, um, homesteaders, all that. People lump all that and other things that I can't remember under this umbrella term of homelessness, because now it's become an umbrella term, because people feel like anybody who's not like living the life that they probably hate, because they feel like they're a slave to the systems and taking care of the family and all that stuff. They just feel like all that is homelessness, which also apparently is like a term that's now equal to mental illness. But yeah, so what point was I getting at? Okay, I remember what point I was getting to. So the point that I was getting to is that, of course, like, people with the homeless label or houseless or whatever who like really identifies it, of course, like, a good handful of them may not really know how to hunt or anything, which honestly I feel like everybody should learn how to do all those things, and if you're already living outside, you might as well, and I don't understand why you're not trying to. But it's funny to me that they get the bum label, even though the word bum is supposed to mean that, like, you don't know how to do anything for yourself and you don't take care of yourself and you're expecting everybody else to do stuff for you, even though the whole idea of modern living is to not do anything for yourself and have some machine or computer or something do everything for you, and then have a doctor help you with all your issues physically, even though they don't even get the root cause or really have business in treating people, or to go to a dentist because you don't know how to take care of your teeth, and to go to the supermarket and all that because you don't know how to hunt or grow your own food, and they don't want you to either. And then you go to school because, well, there's a lot of reasons with that. One, because they don't want people to be able to raise their kids, and there's so much other stuff with that. Honestly, the indoctrination system is where a lot of people start off getting these weird mindsets where they feel like they have to throw everybody else under the bus and put labels on people, whatever the label may be. I'm not even just saying mental labels, all labels that are supposed to make someone else bad or worse or whatever than the next, even when they're really not. Because, of course, the real messed up people want to protect them. Like, if you talk about actual justice being done for, like, molesters or something, people will come bashing you, knocking your door down, talking about how you're just as sadistic as they are for wanting to actually help people, and everybody deserves some. People will, like, tell you some of the craziest things if you actually talk about something being done about real issues or the real messed up people, but that's kind of a side thing. But yeah, the bum label is just funny to me, and that's what I've been thinking about for the past couple of days. People who are living the modern lifestyle that's built off of not knowing how to take care of yourself. Basically, like, if you ever watched the movie WALL-E, something like that, pretty much. People who are living the WALL-E lifestyle, calling the people bums or whatever else is, and what's the word? I don't know. I'm having my usual brain damage, brain fog, Joe Biden moment. But I guess to really get to the point, though, if you say something that someone doesn't agree with, like, let's say they're in left right mind hurting, or no. Let's say they're in the left side of left right mind hurting. If you say something about that, and, well, not even about that, if you just say that you don't agree with that, and you're in the right side of left right mind hurting, then what are they going to do? They're going to call you schizophrenic. And like I said, actually, no, I didn't even upload the video because I didn't like how it came out. But Or did I? I don't even know. But I had mentioned in the video that there's this dude who's a Trump supporter, and he's been like pretty much vlogging his experience that he's had since he's became homeless. And that's the thing though, he hasn't even been out here that long. It's only been, well, about 81 days. I think his last video said like 80 or 79. But it's only been like 81 days. And that's another thing with the homeless industrial system, is that they keep people out here until they end up on drugs and losing their mind or whatever. And then they talk about the issue afterwards once it gets really bad. Because they have people who just became homeless, and they try to keep them homeless until the person's actually messed up. And then they run around screaming about how there's a whole bunch of people walking around naked talking to themselves and things like that. Because they're creating the issue. But side thing. So anyway, in the comment of one of his videos, somebody has said that he just needed to get psychiatric treatment, which people who think that there's treatment for any mental problem obviously know nothing about the mental health system. They literally say in their books that they have never treated anybody. A lot of mental health professionals don't even believe in mental illness themselves. But yeah, somebody was like, you just need to get treatment and go see a psychiatrist and get an evaluation. Which, anytime somebody thinks that a psych evaluation is a treatment for some mental problem, it just shows me how much they know. There are so many times where I've seen people say things that insinuate that they think an evaluation is some form of treatment, which I don't know where they get that from. Never heard of a type of therapy called evaluation, but they were like, you're paranoid, schizophrenic, Trump supporter, something like that. So, I mean, for all that, you might as well say that somebody on either side of left, right, mind hurting is quote unquote paranoid, schizophrenic. But, I mean, really though, because like on both sides, they're both falling into the divide and conquer and mind hurting that, I mean, everybody's quote unquote freedoms are at stake, but they're both like in this mindset that the other side is going to take away their freedoms, even though it's going to be both sides. But yeah. Another example. Then the last example, so I can hurry up and get to the point, is how anytime somebody sees someone doing something that they think is weird or they don't really know what's going on, they'll call the person a psycho, even though they don't really know what the word psycho means, or they'll call the person a sociopath, even though they don't know what the word sociopath actually means. In fact, people are running around calling themselves antisocial, like these weird, messed up rapper people, because they're trying to like go along with the hive mind trends, and they don't even know that the word antisocial, that means sociopath, ASPD, antisocial personality disorder. But yeah, but that's people for you. The people that love throwing around the retarded label. So anyway, try to think of an example. So let's say somebody is, actually seen the video of this once. Someone's on a train and they have a milk carton and they have cereal in a Ziploc bag and a spoon. They're eating the cereal out of a Ziploc bag and they pour the milk in the Ziploc bag and they're eating it out of there. People in America will look at that person and say, oh my gosh, it's a sociopath, psychopath. That person's just eating with what they have pretty much at that point in time. I'm sure, like, if they had a bowl, they'd eat with that, but, like, why do people feel the need to throw out such outlandish, serious terms for such a non-serious situation and then not even know what in the world they're talking about? Like, it's literally considered normal for people to lack empathy and sympathy and lack a lot of other emotions too, to be honest. Like, bullying is considered normal and funny. People literally think it's funny here to, like, and honestly, I'm sure in a lot of places, but my focus is on America because we have the obsession with mental labels. People literally think it's funny here to bully people to suicide, and then people will just be like, well, I mean, that's their fault, that's their business, I don't have anything to do with that, I'm minding my business. Stuff like that. It's considered normal here to lack empathy and sympathy to the point where when people have empathy, they end up getting a mental label for having empathy. Like, it's said that people with autism and some other labels that are now being called neurodivergence, even though at one point these same labels meant quote unquote bad boy with ADHD and something similar to that, but now, of course, the mental health system is rebranding their labels like they always do. Because if you remember, in the 2010s, it was still believed that autism and sociopathy and even schizophrenia was the same thing, but not even going to get into that. And of course, psychiatrists were saying this stuff, and people who accept these labels, they don't understand that movies and TV shows aren't making the stigma. Psychiatrists make the stigma, and the label is the stigma. So please stop running around a victim complex blaming people for things that these doctors you love so much say. That's kind of a side thing, too. But I say this in the video I have about people, quote-unquote, faking illnesses. But, yeah, so these labels that are now under the neurodivergence, even some other ones, are now said to be people who struggle with hyper empathy or just having empathy in general. And it's like now it's considered a birth defect or a mental illness to have empathy and sympathy and to care about people. Like, if that isn't a red flag to people about the state of the country, I don't know what is. But yeah, so that's why it's funny to me that people are even like willing to throw around sociopath and psycho labels when the average person could care less about the next, probably even not even care about their own family. If it really comes down to a situation, they'll choose their self over their own kid. In fact, there was this news article or video or something like that where somebody used their baby to shield them from a gun bullet in a situation they started. And that's really how people are, though. But, yeah. So, whenever you're doing something that people don't understand or that they think is weird, you're going to get the psycho label or maybe something else. And people don't even know what any of these things mean. In fact, psychopath technically isn't even a real diagnosis, to be honest. There really is no psychopath, like, actual clinical label, but there is for sociopathy, which is ASPD. Although people say psychopaths are born, sociopaths are made. I don't even know about that. That's some bullcrap too, to be honest. But I'm not even going to get into that. And so now I can go into the dream, or the nightmare, which I mean, I don't really know if it was a nightmare, though. I think it's like really telling of the issues of today. And I had this dream or nightmare or whatever good couple of months ago. So I guess I was at school, even though, well, let me not turn this into a trauma dump. So let's say that I went to school anyway. I was at school, and it was auditorium. So one of the gyms that, like, has one of those big stages, and people were in there, and then I came in, and I started, like, I guess talking about the real issues of the world. I'm going to talk about what I can remember. So I had said that women were being raised to, like, be victims and think they're victims all the time and to hate men. And then the dudes started cheering. And then the girls were like calling the police or something and telling them to like send me to a mental facility. And then I said something about the guy, so I was addressing people in general. This wasn't like some biased thing. I was addressing everybody. And then I said that the men were being raised to not be men, and that they needed to stop uh, falling into the whole effeminate thug persona that they get from these sold out rappers and walking around with their butts out. I said a lot of stuff that I can't really remember. And so then the women started cheering, and then the guys had called the police and told them to take me to a mental facility. And that's all I really remember from that. And then I was like, but I didn't do anything. Everything I said was true. And then the mental label started coming out. Now, I don't really know if this. I mean, I don't really think it has something to do with like my cash for kids system trauma, because the thing is, all that happened because of the situation I was in. I actually never discussed any of the views that I had or any of the things that I believed with not even really relatives, definitely never with like any of the cash for kids system staff, because I mean I was already in a bad enough predicament just because of the scapegoat and abuse and just the usual stuff you go through in the cash for kids system. So I don't really know what this dream had anything to do with, so I guess it was just like about the current state of the world, I guess. So yeah. Oh, and lastly, something I forgot to mention that goes back to the whole people faking illnesses thing. People are taught to just listen to their doctors and believe everything the doctor says, and to not even know themselves better than the doctor. So when people get labels, they believe the doctor. Like, I met this lady who was almost 50, definitely in her mid to late 40s. She told me about how she had falsely got the bipolar label, but she actually had ADHD. Now, all of it's trauma, I'll say that. ADHD, just trauma symptoms from all the abuse she went through. But yeah, and of course, this was a quote unquote white lady in her 40s. So the ADHD label for her age and ethnicity, means something totally different from like some kid in an abuse situation, or one of the quote unquote bad black boys with ADHD. Just wanted to say that part. She believed the doctor for a while and was actually taking the psychotropics, which were giving her all types of health issues, and she ended up with medical trauma. And yeah, she told me about that, so there's that. Then another thing is that when somebody gets a diagnosis, they actually get worse after, because they feel like they have to actually fit the symptoms. This is a known fact. So that's why there's the quote unquote illness faking trend. People aren't faking anything. People are just listening to these psychiatrists like usual. And then that's it.